All right, take 2. Let's see. I'm going to add Will. And let's see if we cannot get him to accept. Really? Now my iPads aren't cooperating with me, and how are we doing here? Will, if it's not sending you an invitation, then I don't know what to do about that. Okay. Has it come up yet? It's not inviting you. And I don't know why that's not doing it. Thanks, Brady. If I could only get my stuff to work. Okay. I don't know why it's not inviting you, because I'm checking it on both my devices and my devices are accepting them. But put you on speakerphone. Okay. All right. Let call you on here. And we'll just... How does that sound, guys? Guys, I'm super sorry about the audio today. But we're having technical difficulties, so this is the best we're going to get. All right, Will, do you have a wire you can use for your mic so that we don't have to have like the repeat that goes back through the phone through the Facebook feed?
Telling you right now, the reception in my house is not very good. So you might lose me here. I'm tech-tarded. I'm not a social media guy. I'm 40-some years old, and I don't walk around with my face stuck in a laptop or in the phone. So I don't stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I fully feel you. I'm so dependent on my kids for everything, so I so get it. I mean, my kids set like everything up, and it's just, you know, we do the best we can, and that's how it goes. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Can you guys hear him okay? Can you guys throw up some thumbs if you guys can hear Will okay through the feed? Because we're trying to do this speaker version, and he's having some struggle with his signal in his house. So if you guys could throw some thumbs, thanks. All right. So we're doing okay so far. Perfect. All right, well, let's jump right into it, because we wanted to talk about your crowdfunding campaign that you're doing for this documentary. So we're going to talk today to Will about his project for the Veteran Transition Project. And I don't know if he's named his documentary yet, but we're going to ask if we can get him back. Horwell doesn't have good signal at home. Wi-Fi's dying.
Hello?
All right, we're here.
This is going to irritate the hell out of me, I'm not going to lie.
All right, let's try and get through it quickly then. We'll try and make it as painless as possible. I just wanted to talk about your crowdfunding campaign and your transition project documentary so that we could, like, you know, spread it around a little bit. So why don't you tell us about that real briefly?
So basically, I was looking at to finish, trying to get some help finishing a documentary that I started last year on you veterans about their transition. The idea is just to highlight the some of the issues that our veterans are facing, successes, the failures, where to turn when they're feeling like alone and lonely in the world, and where to look for assistance and help. I think that for a lot of us, the hardest thing in the world is to say, hey man, or to say that you're struggling because it's viewed as weakness. Yeah. and there are a lot of guys out there in a lot of pyramid and basically military members that won't admit that they need help or find it really hard, like I did, to ask for help. It's kind of what this documentary highlights.
Yeah. So you took this epic road trip.
So the Indian campaign. So the idea is that it can trying to raise some money, and I'm raffling off the motorcycle on Veterans Day that I rode to the other. So, the idea, is one of the perks to donate. Get a chance to, one, win the motorcycle in a raffle, but there's also keys and stuff like that to just kind of prove out what is veteran issue, I guess.
Yeah.
Transition from military to civilian life.
Right. So for those of you guys that don't know, I'm going to be posting the links in the actual title posting of the video when we play it back, so everybody that's on playback can see it. I had to redo my whole posting for today because we're struggling trying to get him on the camera and everything. So anyway, but it's a crowdfund for essentially this documentary, and I watched the footage. Like, I watched your road trip live last year. So when you were going through it and kind of posting little bits and pieces of it, it was amazing. And I'm so eager to see it myself, and I'm so eager to see what you put together. So the crowdfunding campaign, we will put the links up in the post and let you guys know where you can contribute, because it's going to be incredible and it's going to be so helpful for so many veterans. I think that what Rudy and I talked about the other night when we were on the live stream was just that profound sense of loneliness and that profound sense of alone, and I'm the only one going through this. Do you feel like that's kind of more the majority than the exception, Will?
I do feel like that is a huge part of the issue. This idea that you are going through it alone, and I've told people that before. What kind of leads up to these suicidal thoughts, and it is that that feeling of loneliness that you can't ask anybody else to help you out.
Yeah.
And when you return to your community, I mean, these are, for the most part, the community cannot possibly understand what it was like in the military because they were never there. Whether you deployed, whether you didn't deploy, you served in peacetime or wartime, you were indoctrinated into a mindset, and that's a military mindset. And there were certain things that were expected, and there were lives at stake. And then you return to the civilian life, and there aren't lives at stake, and expectations are not what what you thought that they would be, and you come back and you're trying to reintegrate, and you're having a hard time.
Yeah.
And your friends are all deployed, or they're still training, or you go back to your hometown where you've been gone for years and years and years, and it can be very, very difficult. So there are organizations out there are other military members that are going through the same things, and we just kind of want to point people in the right direction. We want to highlight the fact that you're not alone. And a lot of guys, they hear it like you're not alone, but they don't know where to turn.
Right. And I think that that's kind of a big part of it is that there are some resources out there, and there are some great resources out there, like the Regroup Foundation that you contribute to and help out with so often. I mean, Red, White, and Blue Foundation, there's so many good ones, but I don't know that they get like that precious airtime. They don't get, they just don't get talked about. And when people are unaware of these services and these groups that will provide help for them, or just a hand up,
You know what? I think that there's a lot of negativity that surrounds, a departure from a military member's service. You know what I mean? Like when you depart the service, I mean, there's a lot of negativity that goes along with that. Like, oh my God, I'm going out into a world where people aren't going to understand me. Other veterans have had so many problems in the past. How am I going to incorporate? Do I have a job lined up? What are my plans like A to Z? You know what I mean? And it's a very stressful time, but it doesn't have to be negative. I mean, you can look to your friends. You can look to your family. There are people out there that want to support and help and guide, military members through that transition process. But oftentimes it's us. It's our own ego. It's our own hang-ups that keep us from reaching out. And that's what military members need to overcome. And, I know I get a lot of crap for being kind of the touchy-feely guy a lot of times. But the reality is that if you look to your family, if you look to your closest friends and you reach out to them when you do need or help or you are feeling frustrated, those are the people that are going to support you. You can't go run into the government, you know what I mean, and say, hey, this is what's happening to me and I want you to do something about it.
Right.
You have to go to your community. You have to make a better life for yourself. And it's hard to take those steps sometimes. It can feel like beating your head up against a wall.
Yeah. So did this idea just kind of happen upon you? Was it an amalgamation of things? Was it like years in contemplation? How did it come about? Was it organic? Like in terms of just one day you thought, you know what, this is something I can do and contribute?
What actually happened was, I work in a very interesting business. The television industry is a very interesting business, and it's full of a lot of different personalities. But the military mindset is
it's a unique one.
It's kind of absent. You know what I mean? It's everybody's working together towards a common goal, and that's great. But there's a lot of things that could agitate somebody with a military background, especially when you come from the kind of background that I have. And I was having I was a little bit frustrated in my job and a little frustrated with some of the things that I was going through. I was basically living in New York and LA at the same time, and you have relationships fall apart when you're geographically dislocated from somebody.
Yeah.
And you can only do so much as an individual.
Yep.
And I don't know what happened. I just decided, and I love riding motorcycles. It's kind of, it's what I love to do. I love riding motorcycles. I love driving my cars. I like that feeling, and I can't jump out of airplanes anymore. Nobody's going to pay me to do that.
Wow.
So I kind of get my thrills riding a motorcycle, and I decided that after living in New York for several months that I needed to ride. And so I bought a motorcycle and I just rode it across the country. And at the same time, I just met and talked with other veterans. And I did some interviews, and I kind of was working through this idea of, what is it like to transition for everybody else?
Yeah.
You know what it's like for me? What was it like for Marty Scoveland? What was it like for Andrew Bennett? What was it like for Lindsey Harden? Some of these veterans. And I kind of put out like this blanket message on Facebook, and I talked to anybody along my route that would give me the time and give me some of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that we all pretty much have the same things going on. Yeah. Everybody, when they get out, has this feeling of like loneliness, this uncertainty, and the differences were, who we turn to when the times are difficult, and the organizations that are able to help. That's what I found out more about. At first, it was just about the military members, but then I started meeting these military members that were involved in multiple organizations out there that are in place to help veterans, and I never knew about any of them. Wow. And I was in the military my entire life. I mean, as a dependent, and then as an adult.
Wow. And then suddenly some things come to light because you make this cross-country road trip on a motorcycle.
That's exactly right.
That is just so, it's almost mind-blowing to me. So how Hollywood? I mean, you were living bi-coastal for a while, and I think a lot of people are interested in knowing how you went from, so it was Rangers and then PJs, and then did you go to work somewhere in between that and before you kind of went into the entertainment industry? Like, how did that happen?
Oh my God, I've had so many jobs. How did it happen? First of all, I want to say that I was a huge movie buff when I was in the military. I had like something like 300 DVDs. Guys would come over and just borrow movies out of my library.
You were the librarian.
I was like the guy that had a quote from a movie for any situation. And
You would love Thanksgiving dinner at my family's house. You and my brothers would go head to head on every crazy movie that I've never even heard of that they've memorized.
Well, look, man, the thing, military members aren't any different than anybody else when it comes to the things that we enjoy and that we like to do, and that how we spend time with our families. We're not any different than anybody else. The only difference is we have a different sort of a job.
Yeah.
And what we go and we do, for work, most of the time from 9 to 5 is a lot different than what other people do. And we get deployed and we have to go do our job someplace else for the benefit of the American people. But like movies, the way we interact with our families, entertainment, that's all the same for us. You know what I mean? And so I was really interested in movies, and I never thought for a second that I would ever be on television.
Oh, the irony.
But, when I got out of the Army, I ended up driving, dump trucks in tight circles on a construction site. And my wife was pregnant, and I was 22 years old, and I didn't have a job. And I couldn't go to college because I had to pay rent and feed the baby and feed my wife and take care of, some things. And when I got out of the Army, I had 2 cars. And I was bad with money. I was just a young kid. I never had any money, I just really made some bad decisions, and I found myself up against a rock and a hard place, and I wasn't successful in my civilian life, to my mind. So I said, I'll go back into the Air Force. That way I will get being an Army Ranger was fantastic. I loved it. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the things that I learned, but they're not very applicable to civilian life.
Right.
So I thought that if I went into the Air Force and became a pararescueman, I would at least get, my degree in search and rescue and recovery. I would have a paramedic certification. These were all things that applied to jobs in the outside world.
Yeah.
So I went back in, and after the pipeline, I was a pararescueman until 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And on active duty. And it was, again, a great experience. I learned a lot of stuff, and I came off active duty. While I was on active duty in the Air Force, I somehow managed to end up on the set of a movie called Beer Fest, where I met a guy named John Dornbos, who was in the NFL. And he's a 25-year-old guy, and here I am, like 32 years old, and he's asking me what I'm going to do when I get out of the military, and I had no idea. And I was like, what are you going to do when you get out of the NFL? And he's like, I'm going to be a professional magician.
What an odd answer.
I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, I'm a professional magician.
Right.
But he was, like, really good. As a matter of fact, he's on America's Got Talent last year, I think.
How great is that? I love it.
Yeah. And so anyway, I mean, he kind of really got me thinking about, a post-military career. And I don't know, I ended up on the set of that movie, and he was like, hey, man, you could probably do stuff like this for a living. You've got a really interesting background, and I was already going to some acting classes on the sly.
On the
sly. Just to learn how to express emotions other than anger.
Well, it can help. Some people think that
anybody that knows me knows that I was in command-directed anger management counseling when I was in the Air Force, and I had some issues. I had some really big personal problems, and so the classes were helping me with that.
Yeah.
And then when I got out of the military, I don't know, it was almost on a dare. Somebody found out that I was going to acting classes and forwarded me an email about a production company in California looking for a former pararescueman to host a TV show. So,
how perfect is that?
Taking the dare, I went ahead and sent in an email to these guys, and they hit me back, and we had some back and forth conversations and some footage that was sent back and forth, and then I was signing a contract to host a TV show, before I was even out of the military.
Unbelievable.
And the reality of, I thought that I had it made. so in 2007, I exited active duty with a television show contract, and I didn't work in television for 2 years after that.
Yeah. I think people make a misconception about what a funky, fickle beast the entertainment industry is. Because of what I do, I watch it like on a parallel kind of plane. And I'm like, yeah, there's no promise of another job when that job is done. Like, booking another job is kind of the thing. And people don't really get it when they first start booking a job. You know what I mean?
Well, and I really was, I struggled with the entertainment industry as well because, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself as the chest-thumping military guy. And that's the image that was being put out there about me. And I don't know why. I just kept thinking about I can't be this guy forever. I'm not going to be able to be this military guy forever. I'm not going to be able to be this guy, who is the chest-thumping, barrel-chested freedom fighter when you've got, hundreds and, thousands of soldiers actually deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq who were doing the do. I felt like a little bit of a toy soldier. I didn't want that image.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, self-confidence kind of gets in the way, and I might have even sabotaged my own career a little bit because I was trying to shrug off those things. And then you learn to embrace who you are. You become more confident with your background. You let go of some of your insecurities, and you start to realize that those are the things that are holding you back. Nobody else is holding you back. It's not, what you have or necessarily what you didn't do in your past that's holding you back. It's what you can't let go of.
Right.
It's your own insecurity. And so when I started kind of facing those things, my own insecurities and overcoming those things, I started to become a little bit more successful. And I really started to see especially when I was interviewing other veterans on this cross-country trip, I started to see that these guys had all done the same things. They overcame their own insecurities. They went places, they asked for help, they saw people. And that's what it really is insecurity. And we can't have that. It's holding us back from a complete and healthy transition.
Yeah, and I mean, allowing that moment of vulnerability and not seeing it as weakness. I think that's another kind of mistake or it's a mix-up. It's like an emotional mix-up that happens in the wiring, and just allowing a bit of vulnerability to say, like, can you put your hand out and help me up real quick? I fell. Can you help me?
Let me here's a great example. So yesterday I was in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I met with Jared Taylor, Matt Best, and all these guys who run their successful Drinking Bros podcast.
Yes.
You got the Black Rifle Coffee. These are successful veteran entrepreneurs. Matt Best, obviously involved in the entertainment industry.
Yes.
These
those
guys have really done a lot of stuff, a lot of positive things for veterans. So I met up with them yesterday. I did 3 podcasts yesterday, and then today I was reposting the podcast on my Facebook, and I saw this one comment from this one guy, like a third of 3 minutes into the podcast, and this guy basically says, I was in the 82nd Airborne Division from 01 to 07, and the Army doesn't take the Air Force doesn't take Army. I'm calling bullshit. So now I've got this veteran of 6 years at the 82nd Airborne Division saying that my career is bullshit.
And calling you stolen valor, basically, or accusing you of stealing valor.
Calling me a fucking liar, right?
Oh, I'd want to beat ass too if I were you.
What's my initial reaction? I want to punch this guy in his
throat.
I want to punch his dick off his torso, right? So I can't do that.
You're going easy on him. I would have been way worse.
But you know what I mean? Like, he's basically attacked. There's one thing that I have a lot of pride in. That, I have a pretty thick skin. But when it comes to my military service, man, like when somebody attacks that, I have a tendency to get really offended. And like this morning, I was really offended by this guy. You know what I mean? I know that I probably have. I haven't done half of what a lot of guys out there have done. I've been to a lot of training. I definitely was in for 15 years. I have the military records that can validate my background. I'm not worried about that. But for some dickhead to come on and freaking attack my military background just offhand,
that is,
you know what I mean?
That is some bullshit.
It's really offensive. It's really offensive. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of veterans feel offended. And I got over it. But then I realized that, like, is it something that I should be offended about? Or is that my own insecurity? Is that my own hang-up? Is that my own sense of ego and pride that's taking over? And I think that's what a lot of military veterans get into. We're very proud people.
Well, justifiably so.
You know what I mean? And if we feel like threatened in any way, our immediate reaction is to go to a negative, not necessarily a negative, but like a defensive space. You know what I mean?
Right,
I'm going to defend my position. I'm going to defend myself.
Right.
Very enthusiastically.
Hey, why not?
You know what I mean? And which is another reason that we have trouble reintegrating back into, the civilian world. Civilians don't understand it. They'll just say whatever they want to you.
Yeah.
They don't understand. I mean, and even other military members, they'll just, say offhand crap all the time.
I don't know.
Like, what are you doing right now? If we don't work together as a collective with common goals and supporting one another, how are civilians going to support us?
Well,
I understand that stolen valor is a thing, but if you're coming my way, you're barking up the wrong tree, Chachi.
Well, if you're going to come for me, you better come loaded for bear. Like,
well, that's another thing, man. Like, don't go off half-cocked on people. Know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Anyway, back to the issue. Back to the documentary. I mean, this is all part of it, though.
Yeah, no, this is the journey, and this is what people, they all go through it, and, this whole, people ask, like, how I do what I do, and I always say by accident. And it kind of almost sounds a little bit like you have the same kind of path. Like, how did you kind of come into this? Kind of by accident, right? A little bit.
Well, you take... I never took the path of least resistance, that's for sure. You know what I mean? I almost feel like I always took the path of most resistance. Like, where am I going to... I'm a huge... I'm very attracted to negative reinforcement. So if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to go and try to do it.
And I can't wait to shove it in your face when I do it well.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You can't be an Army Ranger. Not everybody can be an Army Ranger. Well, watch me. I'm going to go do it.
Watch
you have
me.
To be special to be an Army Ranger. Not everybody can be a PJ. I'm going to go do that. Not everybody can, go into the entertainment industry and be successful. I'm going to go do that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I don't know why. I don't know. And a lot of people helped along the way. That's the reality. I mean, I didn't do it all on my own. There were a lot of people there that supported me and helped me along the way, and I appreciate every single one of those people. And but I didn't accomplish anything as an individual, and I think that that's kind of a message that I'm trying to get across in my transition project as well, is that even though you enter and exit service as an individual, there are people who helped you get in, and there are people that can help you transition out.
It's such an important message, and I can't get it across. Like, I can't echo it enough for you. And like I said, guys, I'm going to be posting all these links. And for those of you watching on playback, the links are all going to be posted in the comment section at the top of the posting. This project it's Will's passion project, and it is so important. And I'm one of the people that watched it all kind of unfold as it happened last summer. But I have so many friends that have said these same things, and we've had this same conversation, and it's such a common theme, and it's much more the rule than the exception. And to get this message across and spread it out in a broad spectrum platform with someone who has a television personality and a platform like Will does, and has collected this incredible footage and this incredible information from all these terrific veterans that have, given him a moment of honesty, is so important. So I'm really beseeching you guys, if you can't contribute, please share. If you can contribute, please do. but we have to like keep this one going. I don't normally ask for like the shares and all of that stuff. I feel like things can happen organically, but this is really important. And I feel like it's important to a lot of people that don't have a voice. So if you guys choose, please help us out to contribute and give this project a voice and give it real legs that we can give some just traction to this whole thing, this whole subject, because it's a big, broad one. All right.
For me, again, I talk about a lifetime of, being in the military, between being a dependent and then actually a military member myself. And this is like my way of trying to give back to my community a little bit, trying to give back to the military community, because it is such a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And like, if people are on the same page, again, they can log on to Indiegogo.com. Just, check out the Transition Project. We have some perk packages, stickers, T-shirts, a chance to win the Triumph Thruxton that I'm raffling off on Veterans Day, to one of our contributors. I'm packing it up. I'm going to ship it out to you. Everybody who contributes, if you contribute $5 or more, you get a link to the completed film. So,
it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit stressed out. I'm a little bit stressed out. We're coming up to the end of the campaign. It hasn't been as successful as I would have hoped.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do this big push here in the last week, and I'm like you, Kendra. I like the things to happen organically, but in this world, you also, again, I recognize I needed some help, maybe a little too late, lesson learned, and, I'm just trying to get the word out now.
Well, we're going to help you do that, and we're going to spread it around, and we're going to try and see if we can't push it as far as we can push it in these last couple of days, because I get it. I get it what it is to be busy. I get what it is to have deadlines. Like, I so feel you there.
Hello?
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So can we play are you all right?
A lot of work to be done in the next few days.
We can. Okay, so how much does it take, like one entry for the raffle to win the motorcycle? How much would that cost a contribution?
Well, there are two. Minimum $100 for a chance to win the Triumph in a raffle. It's $100 per ticket.
Okay.
You don't have to give $100 though. I mean, you just don't get the chance to win the motorcycle.
Yeah.
There are smaller perk packages that people can buy into, and if you can only give $1, I mean, give $1. Every little bit helps. It really does.
Yeah, 15,000 people, $1. That's a lot of money. So, there's no contribution that's too small. If you want one chance to win the motorcycle, which is an epic bike. I don't know if you guys know what a Thruxton is, but it's sweet, and it's an absolutely bitchin' bike. It's $100 contribution. But if you guys can help, again, if you can contribute, please do. If you have $5 that you can shake down for Will and this amazing project this month, please do so. And if you can't give, share it around, get the word out so that 10 more people can see it. Like, let's all work together on this one. I got some hater mail. Like, when you bristled when someone accused you of stealing valor, I bristled the same way when someone says something to me like, everybody's a patriot until it's time to do patriot shit. When was the last time you did this, Kendra? And I about flipped my shit a couple weeks ago, because I'm like, there's not just one way to do anything, asshole, first of all. Second of all, how many city council members have you taken before an ethics board? I can count them for me. But don't tell me how to do certain things. Like, is it not patriotic for me to contribute and ask veterans about their stories and have Rudy on my show and have you and try and spread the word about your crowdfunding campaign? Like, shut your fucking face. I'm going to smack.
You know what? Look, being a patriot is something that is an individual. It's an individual endeavor. You can be as patriotic as you want to be. If you're born in the United States, you're a native of the United States, and you know what? You were lucky enough to be born under this umbrella of freedom.
Yep.
And freedom doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want when you want to do it.
Right.
You're the most important thing in the world. It just means you're part of a united collective of people supposed to be taught these things, you know, what it is to, you know, how this country was founded and what it's built upon. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm a student of history. I have no illusions about our history as a country. Yep. But what I do know is that it took a group of people. It took a combined effort to make us a United States of America. It took a combined effort to get us to where we are today. Nobody is important as an individual. Nobody gets anything done that lasts as an individual. You have to work together as a group. And, you know, we need to unite now as a veteran community, as an American people, and work towards a better tomorrow. I mean, we need to stop trying so much to be recognized as individuals and be recognized as a United States of America. You know what I mean? Recognized as a people. We're so confused about who we're supposed to be, you know, or who we're not.
Right.
That, you know, forgot that we're just Americans.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more. Was there anything else specifically that you wanted to talk about, or are you ready for a lightning round of Plead the Fifth?
I'll do a lightning round of questions. Let's go.
All right. Would you rather iron a Navy SEAL's dress whites for his annual ball, or slam your hand in a car door?
What was that?
Would you rather iron a Navy SEAL's dress whites for his annual ball, or slam your hand in a car door?
I think that I would rather, you know what, I'm pretty good with an iron. I'll do the dress whites for the ball.
Atta man. Okay.
You know what? I'm going to take that back. I'll slam my hand in the car door and then supervise the Navy SEAL getting his dress whites ready for the ball. Nah, I couldn't even supervise that. I don't know. That's a tough one. I feel like if you're preparing a uniform for the Navy ball, then you should prepare it yourself.
Yeah.
If you're going to wear it, you know what I mean?
Indeed. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. This one's fun. So, during your time in Rangers and PJs, did you ever party so hard one night, go home with a one-night stand, and get up in the morning having completely forgotten her name?
Yes.
All right, number 3, and he hasn't pled the fifth yet. Like, I'm loving this. Number 3, I've read this in so many places, and I'm absolutely dying to know. Do PJs actually get a green feet tattoo on their ass cheek?
Yes, guilty.
Oh! Would you show it to the crowd if I had you live?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dang
that's why you get a tattoo on your ass, is so that you can drop trout anytime you want. And people are like, oh, it's a tattoo, it's fine.
Oh my God, I love this so much. All right. Would you rather... Okay, this is the last one. Would you rather dance naked in front of your entire unit, or...
Guilty.
Already done it. Boom, done and done. All right, the rest of that question ends in, or... go on a SAR mission after a Navy SEAL that failed land nav in the middle of winter in Afghanistan.
I'd love to do that too.
You're like, both sound pretty fun to me.
I mean, as long as we recovered them and everything like that, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I'll take that too. Both, yes.
Oh, I love you so much. You are the best.
Nothing that you've said so far is incredibly intimidating.
Well, you did agree. So everybody that watches my show knows that I'm pretty mellow with the guests. Like, I just want everybody to have a good time. I want them to get their messages out there. I want it to just be a conversation, and I want people to get to know my guests that come on with me, because I feel like it's a kindness. And the funny thing is that I always send the questions ahead of time, and then there have been a couple times where yourself and one other person have been like, nah, don't send me the questions, I'm good, and we call it no mission intel. So
yeah.
Will had the stones today to go no mission intel. I could have went full Megyn Kelly on you, and you still would have like
I mean, look, that kind of stuff doesn't intimidate me. I pretty much own the mistakes from my past, but they're in my past.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So anybody who's like, if anybody was to try to say, hey, you're accountable for X, Y, and Z, you know, I own my mistakes. I own my mistakes. I own my past. Yeah. It is what made me the person that I am today. I wouldn't be where I am right now if all of those things hadn't happened. But they're in the past. There's nothing I can say or do that's going to change any of that unless you have a fucking time machine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's
all
growth.
I can do is take all of those things, apply them to my life today in a positive way, and try to move forward and be better as I move forward. That's all I can do. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing, to my mind, that you can come at me with, and I'm not going to be like, yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Yes, I did that, or know that, and have an explanation. Like, I'm not intimidated by that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not worried about somebody coming out of the woodwork and saying, Will Willis, you know, he shoved in my canteen one time. And I would be like, yeah, I did. Kind of what we were doing.
He called me fat and he hid my boots.
Yeah. I mean, so.
I love it. I love it so much.
You know, and at the same time, I mean, I also, nobody, I don't expect anybody to be perfect. And for anybody to expect me to be perfect in any way whatsoever, it's a double standard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not intimidated by people trying to hold me to some sort of or come at me in any kind of way.
Yeah. You know? Well, and those unattainable standards.
And if I am intimidated by them, I go straight to anger and violence.
Same, fam. Same. Although I'm not very intimidating. My big 5'3" is just not. I'm not very scary. Yeah. You, I can imagine, is kind of scary when you get there to that level of like, all right, I'm done. You are done. Yeah. We are done.
Actually, I just curl up in the fetal position, suck on my thumb, and you won't see me for 2 years.
Somehow I think that's far-fetched. Somehow I just don't picture it, but that's okay. We'll play along.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you come from a life of negative reinforcement, negative things don't scare you.
Yeah.
You know, positive scare you. Positive, when somebody's like, "Hey, good job," you're like, "Really?"
Well, yeah.
Things that scare you.
And it's a funny thing about that, because when you're brought up in a really strict, high standards household, and I mean, we were pushed in both directions. We were pushed to succeed at everything we did. I mean, I'm one of 8 kids, but I'm, my family's been in this country since the late 1500s. We had a signer of the Declaration of Independence, straight down our family tree. So it's always been this standard of, upholding the Middleton name and being the best at what you're doing and pushing yourself, to the outer limit of what you're capable of doing. But those failures almost become as scary as those successes, because it's like, once, how if you're climbing a really high ladder or high stairs and you're keeping going because you're just staying on your path, you're just chugging, and then you suddenly look down and you're like, holy shit, look at how high I am. And it frightens you for a minute, that success that you've now accomplished, it frightens you for a minute. It's jarring.
Right.
And you can have that minute of, I think I want to go back down, because it's easier and I know what to expect there. But nah, I don't think so. I have this juxtaposition of words that I use with my daughter. I'm like, it's scary, but it's deliciously scary. So let's walk into it. Let's do it. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Hey, producer, do we have any other questions? No? We're good? What? No other questions? My producer's scanning here. She's amazing. All right. So, guys, I have a lot of comments for We Love Forged in Fire. We love Spec Ops Mission. Actually, I think that was kind of the first time I saw you was on that TV show. So was that fun or what? Was that more fun or more goofy?
You know what? It depends. I mean, I guess I try to, the concept evolved almost as we were filming, because nobody had ever done anything like before. This was before GoPros got like 4K.
Yeah.
You know, and you could mount them on things. I literally had like a Sony hand, you know, one of those old school Sony hand cams, like taped to my, not taped to my weapon, but attached to my weapon. And I was like filming myself like Les Stroud, the Survivor Man.
Yeah.
And like I'd never done any camera work or anything like that before. So it was an incredibly experimental process, and it probably paved the way for a lot of other things. I mean, nobody had ever seen that kind of video game first-person shooter perspective, you know, on a TV show or a movie, you know, until Spec Ops Mission.
I think that's why it hit home with a lot of people.
It's been imitated ever since in a lot of ways, you know.
Yep.
But, I'm, you know, so I'm proud of it in that way, because you know, we didn't know how we were going to do this. We just kind of hashed it out as a team, like this is how it's going to go.
Yeah.
We had to have mounts specially built for the M4 that I carried, you know, so that we could mount those cameras because we were ahead of the GoPro thing.
Right.
And so, but it was goofy a lot of times. I mean, I did get into arguments, you know, with producers. I think I actually told the director that I could show up in the middle of the night at his house and he wouldn't be able to stop me. I was like, you know, I mean, there were arguments that involved threats of physical violence.
Oh my God! I would love to be there for that.
and you know what? In between those shows that I was filming, I was like driving a taxi cab. I'm not kidding. And people think when you're on TV that you're making a ton of money, and that's not true.
Yeah,
I made $9,000
for the whole season, right?
$9,000 from that show, and it was globally broadcast.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I was get 10% of residual income. I've only ever gotten one residual check, and it was for like $13.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't even worth cashing, but I was so broke at the time, I went ahead and cashed it.
I think people don't have a concept of how little, especially first season run television shows do. They just don't understand. They see like, you know, the Dwayne Johnson or Vin Diesel or all these people, you know, that are like huge A-listers, you know, cranking out $1 million movies and doing $1 million an episode for their sitcom or whatever. They don't really have a concept of what it actually is to be someone like yourself who works on, you know, like one of the Discovery Network, you know, channel shows, and it's a pretty standard paycheck.
Again, and all I ever wanted to be was like myself, you know what I mean? Be as comfortable as I could in my own skin. And, you know, fortunately I've been able to do that with these shows. And for me now, it's not about money. It's about enjoying what I do and being able to do it with some sort of integrity. And you know, now I just want to kind of, you know, I didn't get to do as much as I wanted to in the military. Believe me, I didn't. So now I'm looking for a way to give back. And this documentary and bringing this focus to veteran transition is like my way of giving back to a community that gave so much to me. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I hadn't been an Army Ranger. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I hadn't been an Air Force pararescueman. And all of the good and all of the bad that came from those things has made me successful in this business, and on a very small scale. You know what I mean? I'm not as successful as you know others that are out there. I mean, but I also acknowledge I wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for the United States military. I was born on an Air Force base. You know, I was raised on Air Force bases. I've transitioned out of 2 different branches of the military and the reserves, the Air Force reserves.
Yeah.
You know, I transitioned out as a civilian with my dad. You know what I mean? I know what you families are going through out there. I know what military members are going through out there. I may not know all the details of each and every single person's experiences, but I know how they affect you, and I know how, you know, how they're viewed in the civilian world.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm all about just bringing, you know, a little bit of insight and focus on our veterans' issues right now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. All right, guys, I don't think we have any more questions. It seems like I'm out.
Plug the campaign again. Plug the campaign.
We are so going for this with the Indiegogo. If you guys have not shared it yet, shame on all of you. I want to see some shares, and I'm not taking any more requests unless we can push this thing like awesomely in these last couple days. Like I usually take guest requests. I've got Donnie O'Malley of Vet TV coming on here, I think next week, so that's going to be fun. But I'm not taking requests unless you guys help us out with this promotion because we need to do it together. All right? So the links are all going up in the post when we do replay. I expect to see you guys helping out and kicking ass and doing what my watchers do because I have amazing watchers. Believe me, Will. It's the truth. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on. I would love to have you back to talk about this once you like get underway during your editing and your publication process. So I'd love to have you back. Perhaps somewhere with a better internet signal so everybody can see how good looking you are and I can actually have you on camera. That'd be awesome.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We made it work. This is what we do. See, I wasn't a ranger, but my best friend was a ranger. He was 275, and he's always reminding me, Kendra, reset, regroup, re-engage. Overcome your problem. Just reset, regroup, re-engage. So I get my little pat on the head lesson.
And, you know, it's just a small little obstacle, and it was easy to overcome. No big deal.
And I'm so appreciative that you came on today. I'm going to be publishing this around, and hopefully we can like help your campaign earn some money in these next couple days. Alrighty?
All right, thanks, Kendra.
Thank you,
so
Will.
much. I appreciate it.
Of course. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks to all you listeners out there, you watchers. I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. So, yes, that was indeed Will Willis. Bless his heart. He has had a rough few days, and he came on the show anyway. We couldn't get his Wi-Fi wasn't strong enough is actually what I'm looking at the breakdown here on my screen. That's why you guys see me looking down and talking to Elsa off camera a little bit. But it seems his Wi-Fi or his LTE wasn't strong enough for him to get, because you have to have a certain strength to get the video feed going live for the live stream. So, it's okay. We are going to do it another time. We'll have Will back, but if you have not shared this yet, share it, please. And we're going to post the link for his Indiegogo campaign for this documentary, which is an incredibly important film. I can't stress that enough. If you have heard the stories of transition and profound loneliness and loss of hope and everything that I have, even a quarter of them, you would not be able to wait. You couldn't be able to contribute to this project. I need you guys to please share. And if you can contribute, contribute. If you can't contribute, share it around and then share it some more and get more eyes on it so that more people can contribute. This is such an important project, and I really am beseeching you guys to help us out. All right? So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you guys for being patient. I can't wait to have Will back like with a strong Wi-Fi signal because he's so handsome, and I have the most handsome group of friends like on the planet Earth. So thumbs up for me. Anyway, thank you again, guys. Links are going to be up soon. Share, share, share. Contribute if you can. All right? We love you all. Ciao, amore.